Thank you.
Well sung.
Oh, good morning, all. Oh, it's snowing out right now. I just thought I'd raise your anxiety level if I could. The longer the service goes, you'll be more anxiety-ridden, and that would be fun for me to watch. So, you know, I saved stuff. And interesting, I saved a little piece from 1992. And it was part of a little speech, a longer speech. I'll just give you a short, very short segment. Quote, "I'm fighting for my future. Losing your future is not like losing a few points on the stock market. I'm only a child and I don't have all the solutions, but I want you to realize neither do you. You don't know how to fix the holes in the ozone layer. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. If you don't know how to fix it, stop breaking it." That was written by 12-year-old Severin Suzuki, who was giving a little speech to an international environmental group in 1992. The gospel reading this morning, Jesus on the cross, is simply a signal for us that this is the end of the Pentecost season, which we were wrapped for 26 weeks, basically talking and hearing about Jesus teaching and preaching about living a style of life which is worthy of your humanity, basically. And if you, in fact, confess that Jesus is Lord, then you believe that humanity, including you, have possibilities. And that you not only have possibilities with your life, you're not the only smart one on the planet. And that there's other bright people around too, because God raised you up to be a lover of life. He has most certainly raised up a whole lot of other people to love life too, and to care for the neighbor near you in the form of family, friend, workmates, churchmates, faithmates, and any others that you come across in your time of living. And it also means that you're going to address the particular needs of the planet on which we live and inhabit. I know National Geographic has a special on, started last week, goes for the next 5 weeks, right on colonizing Mars. Very interesting that we're starting to colonize Mars while we're trashing ourselves. You know? You don't... Yeah, I won't. I promise not to talk about poop today, so I'm not going to. The main thing is to make the main thing the main thing. That's what you should be gleaning from the lessons today. The main thing is to make the main thing the main thing. And the main thing that you are called to do and to practice is to love the world into existence. Whether it's in the form of a person, a baby, an adult, helping somebody out, utilizing your own skills and gifts, whatever it is you have to do to love the world into existence and your own life into it, you do. That's called faith. It's also called trust that God has a good plan for the world and its future. That's, after all, why we have babies, is it not? And why we have families, and why we will continue to have families. It's not just a biological desire and urge. We are also compelled to say something hopeful and positive about the future. And that's what babies and kids do. And it is why we adults are called to be grown-ups, like this 12-year-old said. Don't break what you can't fix. So what are the big things about your life that matter? Well, you have to take time to sort it out, take the time to figure out what those big things are, the main things, and to keep the main things, and to do those. I was visiting somebody in this last week who shall remain nameless and geography-less, but I have his okay to use the story so that you can't guess who it is. Just somebody who lives here in our area. And I went over the house, as they called. And in the process, I just walked in the door, and he had just busted out all the windows in his living room and kitchen with a hammer. Oh, not the big window panes, the little ones that go 6 top and 6 bottom. He just went nuts. Whack, whack, cursing, curse. Just went nuts. And till I got there, he had stopped going nuts. So, of course, I asked him, why'd you go nuts? Well, you know, it's a good question to ask, is it not? Would you like to know if somebody gets crazy and you get afraid, like his family was? You'd want to know why. Interesting thing. He had never expressed that. If you don't talk and you don't share, you're always in a guessing game. Always. And so in the guessing game of that family life, they couldn't guess what was the matter, and he wouldn't tell. But finally he had reached the point in his life, as he expressed it to me, he just couldn't stand it anymore. Because in his house, there was too much chaos for him, and he couldn't tamp it down, and he was frustrated. He was frustrated with his job. And then what really topped it off, he had new neighbors move in. And I said, what's the matter with the neighbors? He said, nothing. And what they get you all worked up for? They leave early in the morning, and he hasn't fixed his muffler yet, and it's waking me up too early. Oh, I know, that sounds really like babyish, right? But it was like a last straw. It was like a metaphor, and he didn't realize what a metaphor stands. One thing can stand for your whole life, you know. And I said, you know, you need to make some changes, do you think? He said, yeah, I got to make some changes. And I said, what are you going to start doing? I'm going to start talking. Yeah, okay, that's not a bad start. Tell your family where your head is and what you're doing. To talk about whatever issues you have at work instead of blowing up and being a miserable thing to be around. Maybe go ask if your neighbor needs help with a muffler, because you know how to do it. Yeah, I know all that. But I got to get these windows fixed first, and I don't know how to do that. He said, I'm good for you. Good. Then spend the money and get somebody to repair them, which is what he's doing. But you see what I'm saying here? To keep the main thing is to make the main thing the main thing. And he didn't do that. He diddled and dawdled about everything else. I'm going to be the big tough guy. I'm going to make my way through life. I'm going to provide for my family. They're going to do what I say. I'm going to be the guy at work. I'll always have a job. They'll always appreciate me, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm the master of my own castle. All of the stuff, which is a lie. It doesn't work. He did not keep the main thing, which is to love the Lord, who created you in the first place. You didn't create yourself. To love the Lord, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. That was the teaching of Jesus, boiled down to its essentials, the main thing. And it is that which he forgot, and what that little 12-year-old girl was reminding me to practice, to keep the main thing, to love the Lord, which is to love the world and your life, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Pulled out another little article from the New Yorker magazine from 1997. I kept that because by that time we were starting to get like really greedy as a culture, right? Money, 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 grubby money, money, money. And people were making a lot of money, and it looked like we were heading that way more culturally, and having a division in our social standings and all that, divided by money and finances. This guy was interviewed, Kirk Baines was interviewed by the reporter by the name of Groupman for the New York Magazine. And he had cancer, and he was dying of cancer. And they interviewed him because he was known as a miserable, wretched human being on the stock market and in hedge funds. And so they wanted to know how he was feeling about dying. And he said, you know, I've always lived for the deal. I've been so successful because there's a difference between what I do and what you do. I couldn't care less about the product. It can be oil, platinum, software, widgets. It's all a shell game played for big money. And once I win enough, I wave goodbye. And that approach spilled over into his personal life. The interviewer asked about his faith life and church life. And he said, I'm an Episcopalian. Yeah, I celebrate Christmas. Yeah, I like some of the music. I give a gift once a year. The religion, I don't put much stock in a church. And so the interviewer went on and asked him another question. And Baines finally said, listen, let me put it in my own terms. I'm not a long-term investor. I like quick returns. I don't believe in working for dividends paid only in heaven. I never cared really about the world's events or its people, he went on. I had no interest in creating something, not a product or a partnership with a person. And now I have no spiritual equity, no dividends coming in, nothing to show in my portfolio. I was a self-absorbed, uncaring jerk. He died. You see why Jesus taught what he taught, no? Pretty obvious to everybody. He taught to love life, the life of the people around you, your own life, the life of your immediate neighbors, the life of the whole world. And that's because God created it out of his love, and we were placed here with a responsibility to continue to love the world and the people in it. That's your calling. That's your faith. That's my hope. My hope has to be in God and in you, just as your hope has to be in God and in me. Then I'm not going to trash the place or trash people. I don't want you trashing people either. Because all they're doing is get ugly and mean. And then they're going to take it out on somebody, some stranger. Right? Just like road rage. But that's not rational. But you also know the person who's doing the road rage is not mad and doesn't even know the one that they're taking the rage out on. That's because somebody else has screwed them. And they're too immature and not dedicated and committed enough to life to let that win the day. But that's your call. That's God's hope in you, and it's your hope in God. It's good news. You walk in that faith every day. It's good news. And you are good news. Amen.